then I would know most people in the room. I think I know maybe 50% of the people in the room. Okay, so my name is Ethel Cofie. I wear 3 hats at the moment. So I am CEO of Edel Technology Consulting. And our passion really is about using strategy and technology to help businesses grow with technology, right? So the thing we are on this year is about helping companies build digital products to create different streams of revenue, right? So I love building utility software, that's fine, but I love that when the software we build actually makes impact and that helps put money in the pockets or helps make things more efficient. Women in tech is my passion. I've done it in different ways. I was telling somebody the other day that I've been doing it for years and I just didn't realize. I lived in the UK for years and I used to be part of Girl Geeks. And I would take a train. I used to live in London, in Brighton. I'd take a train, about an hour, go to London, about 9 o'clock just to be sort of part of the Girl Geeks meeting. Women in tech, the girls talk about where they saw a gap. Where I saw a gap was with the women in the industry. So the women in the industry were leaving the industry in droves, number 1. 2, the women in the industry were hitting ceilings and not moving up. And I wondered what I could do, one, to help these women and also to create the role models that were needed to let girls see that this is possible. Africa 2010, I'm a co-founder of Africa 2010 Accelerator. I was born out of my entrepreneurial journey and the mistakes that I made. I have 2 other co-founders, David in Zimbabwe and Chico in Guinea. And we're partnered with Microsoft to help bring entrepreneurial education to the scalable ideas in Africa. I thought I'd be different with this talk. So the reason why I thought I'd know most people in the room, and so I wasn't going to tell my story per se. I was going to come at it from a different angle because this is a journey I'm on myself. This is something I'm learning myself. I thought, why not? Why not be controversial? Why not have a conversation? I wanted to talk. Let's talk. That's the conversation I wanted to have today. So I've got 2 stories to tell you, and I'm going to tell you about my own sexism. Right, so story number 1. So this happened 18 months ago. It's taken me a long while to be able to tell this story. Vogue did an article on the high-tech heroines, right? And it was about the wives and girlfriends of the Silicon Valley CEOs. Right, so I was like, really? It's Marissa Mayer, it's all these wonderful women. We're going to talk about the wives and girlfriends of Mark Zuckerberg and whatever. And I was on my soapbox about it. I was even going to blog about it or something. It was a Friday night. And then I ended up going out, so I didn't do it. And the Saturday, I was on a flight to London, and I was sitting, I was going to fly to London. I was sitting in the lounge, and I was waiting for the flight to be called, and I was on the phone with my husband. And then the cabin crew were walking past, so I looked up. And I looked up and I bawled. So there were all these men walking past, right? Like the whole cabin crew was all men. And they were not even good looking. Right? So I had that instinctively, something was like, no, what is this, right? And I said to my husband, all the cabin crew are men. What's wrong with British Airways? So am I going to go on a plane and sit for 6 hours? It's all these ugly men serving me my nuts and my ribs. It just doesn't make sense. It was an instinct, and I gave voice to that instinct. Hold that thought there. If a man had said what I had said to my husband, and my husband kept quiet when I said it, because he waited for me to get to that point myself. right? If a man had said this out loud, I would be the first person to be on my soapbox and be like, you're sexist. What do you mean? What, do you need women? What's wrong with you, right? I would have said that. Again, it's taking me 18 months to tell this story, right? Start story number 1. Story number 2, I was in Morocco for the Global Entrepreneurship Summit last year. I met Christian. Christian is a CEO of Madeli's cosmetics firm. He's in the Francophone region. They build the cosmetics of natural beauty, natural products, extraction. He's Forbes 30 under 30. Very interesting. Actually, we all hung out. We went out for, it was in Morocco, so we went and bought whiskey somewhere, and then we took Coca-Cola, and we went out. Like, it was a group of entrepreneurs. So we're sitting there, we're chatting. And this was the first time I'd met him, and I was like, cosmetics. I looked at him, and I was like, guy, cosmetics. Interesting. Really? Why? Right. Then, in my head, it was like, wait. When I walk into a room and people are like, you're a woman, you're a CEO of a tech company, and people have that 5-minute, like, right? I get annoyed. Personally, I get annoyed. I don't have much patience. I get quite annoyed when people do this. I'm like, what's wrong with you? I can give you a list of women. Why was I doing that to a man who was in an industry that was very female dominated? Think again, right? So this actually sent me on a journey. It sent me on a journey of thinking about my own unconscious biases, right? Thinking about, and and even if anybody follows me on Twitter and Facebook, somebody says something idiotic, you know, I'll be like, look, right? But this sent me on a journey thinking about what is it that made me think the way that I thought in those different situations. Where are these biases coming from? I suffer them. Why? And I'm Ethel Cofie, Women in Tech founder, blah blah, run the first Women in Tech Africa Pan-African meetup online. I was I'm trying to name that now. I was shortlisted for the UN GemTech Awards for work with women in technology. I'm the deal on women, and this is my jam, this is my thing, right? This is the thing that riles me up. So why in different settings, in different ways, where is this bias coming from, right? So unconscious bias. I'm going to read this. Biases which we are not in conscious control. These biases occur automatically. They are triggered by our brain making quick judgments and assessments of people and situations based on our background, culture, environment, and cultures, right? There's a whole iceberg there. So see, in my mind, in the recesses of my mind, this is how an air hostess look like. And that's Iman, I love her, by the way. That's how a CEO of a cosmetics firm looks like, right? In my mind, based on my TV, cultural stereotyping, where this is how they look like, right? So here's the question. Based on my biases at that point, if I was in a room and I was going to ask to hire cabin crew, what would I do? If I was asked, say I sit on a number of boards and I'm always asked to help select strategic partners and blah blah. If I was sitting there and I was asked to select a cosmetics brand that my board would strategically work with, who would I pick? Right? Now this is my own journey, and I want you to sort of think about it yourself while I am talking through it. So what did I do? With the first one, I actually wrote an op-ed. So and that hasn't been published, it's going to maybe published in the next week or two. I wrote an op-ed and I admitted to my own biases. When I said, hey, in somewhere in the recesses of my mind, buried deep down, I think that it's women who should be serving my nuts and drinks on a plane, right? On the second story with Christian, I did two things. I privately apologized to him and I publicly apologized to him. I did it in public, I did it online. I talked to him and I was like, look, I'm sorry. You must get this a lot. And I don't appreciate it when it happens to me, and I'm sorry. And I promise I'll never do this again. And then I went online, I went on Facebook and I went on Twitter, and I wrote about it, and I publicly apologized to him. And he was absolutely wonderful about it. She was like, oh, it's okay. But I was like, no, I needed to do this because I'm on a journey myself. My fight for women and women in tech and women in leadership starts with me, right? I need to fight when I am treating somebody wrongly, because I need people to recognize when they do it too, right? So I owned it, I unlearned it, and I relearned. This is my mantra. Detect it, you own it, and you unlearn it, and then you relearn it. You don't have unconscious biases? Okay. I'm going to show you a couple of images, right? This is a couple of adverts from along, so I'm going to let you assimilate and ask yourself what happens when you see these things, right? Right. I know, right? Because a lot of guys are like, yes! This is the Times? I can't remember who did this. Lagarde is in the middle there, but like time to matter. Okay. Right? This is because I have to talk to the men as well as talk to the women, right? And I love the angry woman, and it happens a lot to the black women, like angry black woman narrative. It's a very interesting narrative because they expect you to be angry, and so when you do it, there, right? So that's a guy versus a girl, right? And then the other words: bossy, nag, feminazi, cougar, male, shrill, right? I want to take us all on a journey. I want you to also think about your journey, because I'm on a journey myself, right? If you think you don't have biases, let me show you this. So, Fortune 500 companies were researched, and the average CEO is 3 inches taller than your average American. This is Fortune 500 companies in the US. Is there a deliberate prejudice against short men? Right? But you see, the thing is that we have a sense of how a leader should look like. And that leader is tall, that leader has, and it happens in Ghana. In our politics, we see it. Right? We're like, no, this short guy is not going to be president. Right? This is an unconscious bias. This is something we do it every day. We're blind to it, right? So when there's an instinct, and sometimes we don't give voice to that instinct, and we think, oh no, this is the way things should be. Or if you're unconscious bias, because I really wanted to say this. Women, there are more men in this room, that's fine. And this is something I'm working on now. This is my thing that I'm fighting, having conversations about. Women are their own worst enemies. Women don't work well with each other. Women have to display male qualities to survive. And I believe that for a very long time. And I lived it for a very long time. Right? I was a developer, I wore the slacks, I wore the hoodie, I was like the guys. I could drink and cuss like the guys because I learned to do that to survive. Right? Women are two-faced and they gossip. And leading women are bitches. I didn't claim I was going to be, PG today, right? But this is the conversation, this is the journey I am on, and this is the journey I want people to also start to look at your own biases. I think this is the only way we're going to solve the problem, right? So, if you believe in any of these things, I encourage you to do the research. I could tell you that men gossip more than women, but maybe you won't believe me. Go read the research, right? I could tell you that, but CEOs are learning female qualities now, listening, right, to be able to survive. Women are their own worst enemies. I suffered this. But I used to work with Vodafone. One of my issues was I'm a type A personality, and I would go into a boardroom meeting, and when there are two type A personalities in a boardroom, it doesn't have to be two women. It has to be a man and a woman. Just sparks will fly because the personality types. And I would come out of this meeting like, women don't work well with each other. And it's so annoying me. I didn't understand it. And also culturally, we're pitted against each other. We're pitted against each other, right? They're bad for you. I could go into it, but like, sure, days like no time is almost up. They're bad for you. It means as startups, as tech entrepreneurs, it means that you miss out on a diverse way of thinking, and you miss out on bringing a really good skill sets and different skill sets. Because diversity, and there's a research, diversity helps you win, right? Diverse thinking in a room enables you to build better products. How to deal with your unconscious biases? Recognize that you're a human being. Your brain makes mistakes. That doesn't mean that if somebody is coming from a place where they truly believe that women are second-class citizens, I'll be there saying exactly what I need to say. But I'm also aware that there is a thing like unconscious biases, and our job is to help people get to that place where they realize their unconscious biases. So I want to leave you with things to do, not just talk about it. Things to do so that you can deal with your own unconscious biases, right? So tell the truth to yourself. Notice what influences your decisions. We like to hire people like us. We like to go out with people like us. We like to talk to people like us. Notice what influences your decisions in vendor, your decisions on who to hire. Think about it. Ask yourself why. Why this person? Why this person? Why this person? Keep asking. Okay? There's a really good text at the implicit Harvard.edu. It helps you unearth your own unconscious biases. It's a good test to take. Stretch your comfort zone, right? Do things that are out of your normal, because the more you expand your horizons, the better. Stimulate your curiosity about others. So spend time with people that don't neatly fit into your group of people, right? People that are not. I try to find really interesting people to be friends with, people that are very different, people that I would never hang out with, right? But the more you get to know them, the more it helps you understand them. I'll tell a story. When I was in university, I was doing my master's. I was a TA for the web design class, and as an African child that had gone to the UK, when I walked into the class, they're like the ones with the pink hair and the blue hair and the black nails, and you're like, okay. And then you have the like well-dressed kids. You're like, oh, this is my addressable market, right? These ones. But one of the things that I learned, the most creative, the most hardworking, the most interesting, were the ones that had the blue colored green hair, that wore the pants that didn't match with the tops, right? It was an unlearning moment for me. Expand your constellation of input. So get input from people representing other groups of points of views. That's hard to do. One of the things earlier in my career was, I'm creative. I like to think of big ideas and visions. I like have big visions. And I used to have a guy on my team that would always question and ask me. I used to get really irritated, but years later, now over time, I actually look for people like that to hire because they complement my skills. They make my ideas better. They make my ideas bigger. They dot the I's and cross the T's on my ideas, right? If you mess it up, clean it up, right? If you say something stupid, and this is to men and women, if you say something stupid, or you do something stupid, or you push yourself based on your unconscious biases, you need to be able to say, hey, so that was really stupid, that's what I just said, and I apologize, and I'm sorry. And this is an unlearning moment for me, and I'm unlearning this behavior, right? Own it, unlearn it, relearn it. This is my mantra now. Own it, unlearn it. And women do it to men, men do it to women, and women do it to women, men do it to men. It's happening across, right? So, this is a story I wanted to tell. So, in the 1980s, a lot of orchestras were all men. And so in order to fix the problem, they did what you call the screen test. So the men and the women would play, when they were hiring people, they would play behind the screen. Right? And there were certain things like the trombone, and they're like, no, this is a male instrument because you need the lungs, and right? And Abby, first of all, when she got her letter and invited, it was like, it said Mr. I said, wow, whatever, and she went. And when she played, within the first 10 seconds, they said, no, send everybody else home. She's got this number 39 has got the job, right? And then they lift the screen, and the trombone apparently is a very male instrument because you need the lungs and whatever, right? And then they push back the screen, they're like, wait, you're a woman? No, like women can't play the trombone. So she was put on, she was literally high within like 30 seconds of playing they were like, send everybody else home. That's how good she was. And they're like, oh, well, what we'll do is we'll put you on probation. Right? You put her on probation after a year, and then I think she was the number one, I don't understand the orchestra thing, she was the number one trombone person, and then she was demoted to the number 2 trombone person. She went to court, she won. But she was like, look, actually I was so good, you guys sacked everybody else and hired me, then you saw my face. And you're like, no, the trombone is a male instrument, right? Support your local girl gang. I like this. Men and women, a lot of my support is for women in tech at the beginning, and iSpace is always giving me free space, has always supported me with money and things to make it work. A lot of my supporters for women in tech have been men, right? And there were days when we weren't getting the numbers, that half the room would be men because they came to support me, right? And I appreciate that. So I thought, since I've said, we talked about all the bad things and I showed you pictures, all of that, I thought I'd show you good pictures, right? So this is Amy Hood. She's the Chief Financial Income Officer of Microsoft. She's in charge of $83.3 billion, right? This is Regina, you know Regina, right? I'm showing you, these are the success stories. These are the women that are doing what I'm doing things. CEO of Intel, I don't know if she's still there, 25 years of experience. Amazing. Ursula, right? Inkem, I just met Inkem in Lagos about 2 weeks ago. She's amazing. She empowers, she embodies, I don't know, everything great about women in tech. I love spending time with her. And then there's me, right? Because we fought hard, and I could tell the stories, but I think I could tell my story. But I think that I've told my story enough. I've written my story enough. I think most people, maybe this is a new crowd, most people know my story. So this is my passion, right? So technology is very important to me, but I feel like part of my purpose is to live, and when I die at the end of the day, that gap in the middle, when on your tombstone or whatever, part of it is I would have pushed back a little for women in leadership. I don't know, people that are spiritual or whatever, I feel like that's my calling. I feel like that's my purpose. I love to build technology, but I feel like this is very important to me. This is my calling, this is my passion. And I feel like if I've lived and died and I've made a change for women and women in leadership, I would have lived out my purpose on earth. So I'm always worried, but like I'm always worrying about women in tech and the women in tech. I'm always asking myself, are we making an impact? I'm always asking myself, are we making changes? And in the last couple of weeks, I've been thinking about the way we do things. Are we actually making an impact? For me, and for women in tech, it is that if women are a part of this group, one, that they would have moved up 1 step, 2 steps in their career. They would have come into their true authentic selves. They would have moved up the ladder. I'm looking at women on boards. I'm looking at women in C-level positions. We need more women in C-level positions. I'm looking at more balanced board boards. And I'm looking at those women then going out and impacting the other people around, the people in their sphere of influence, right? This is important. This is important because we will all survive if women come into their own. It's that simple. So, unconscious biases. Own it, unlearn it, relearn it. Right.